I'm John Cook. I'm the UK Technical Services Director with MRCVS. Before that, I was a privately practicing veterinary surgeon in practice up in Cumbria. I've been in practice for 19 years up there, working for certainly the best part of the last 10 to 12 years with dairy cattle. About 90% of my time would be spent with milk herds, which is where I developed an interest in cow fertility and production animal medicine, and led me to attempt to get more specialist qualifications in that field. And as part of that, I had to conduct a field study, which had to be written up in a proper scientific manner. What I was really interested in was the impact of iodine deficiency on these herds. But there was no method of being able to supplement cows with a known quantity of iodine until the trace sure appeared, which obviously has a measured amount of iodine in it that is released in a consistent way. So I chose to use that bolus primarily to investigate the impact of the iodine on the animal. But obviously, because it's a combined bolus, I was unable to separate out the effects of the selenium and cobalt as well. So I can't say for certain that the benefits that I observed were entirely due to iodine. What I can say is that they were due to the effect of the bolus.
Tell me about that research, the study that you carried out, because I understand that it was conducted on 4 different farms in the Cumbria area.
Yeah, it was 4 different commercial dairy herds, typical of the area, between 100 and 150 cows, family-run farms. The vast majority of those would just be family labour. Average yielding cows. They weren't particularly pedigree breeders or anything like that. They were just people that make a living from milking dairy cows. We were unaware of the iodine status of any of these farms or the animals on them when we started the study, but we were aware in the area on other farms that we had seen conditions in the cattle which had improved when we'd supplemented them with iodine, so iodine responsive conditions.
What particular results did you notice from the research?
When we looked at the scientific literature, when we were setting the study design up, we were aware that it said in the literature in various places that you get an improvement in milk yield in cattle that were iodine deficient when you supplement them, which is a logical conclusion to come to because iodine is basically controlling basal metabolic rate. And a lactating dairy cow has to have a very high metabolic rate. So if you can't control that, you'd assume that those processes involved in lactation would suffer and that milk yield would suffer concurrent alongside that. So it's not entirely surprising to find that effect. And what we actually found in one of the herds that we studied that had very good milk records, certainly initially there did appear to be some differences in milk yield between the 2 groups of cows, the treated cows and the untreated cows. When we followed that up, we realised that the difference over the whole lactation wasn't particularly substantial, although 300 and something kilograms of milk sounds a lot. When you took into account things like the lactational age of the cow and those kind of things and the season, that there probably wasn't a big difference there. But then we realised that we'd put these boluses in at dry off and they're only supposed to last 5 to 6 months. So 5 months from administration of the bolus on a standard dry period would take you to about 100 days in milk. So we then went back, or I went back, and looked at what the milk yields of these cows were, what their production performance was like, just up to 100 days in milk. And it was then that we started to find actually that the bulk of that improvement between the treated and the untreated cows was actually occurring in the first 100 days in milk. You then start to ask the question, well, is that due to the effect of the bolus? What we then did was we started to use various just statistical methods to draw out what was happening as being due to the bolus and what we could discount as being due to the lactational age of the cow, season of calving, those kind of things. And we found that, yes, there was definitely a significant effect of the bolus on those treated cows and the improvement in milk yield that they obtained.
What was the average overall uplift in milk yield per cow?
The overall lift in milk over the first 100 days of lactation was 225 kilos of milk, and that was occurring in the first 100 days of lactation. The overall lift over the whole lactation was 327 kilos of milk. Roughly 2/3 of the improvement was occurring in the first 100 days of lactation. So what we were doing was actually making those cows in that first third of lactation more efficient at milk production. It is encouraging news for farmers. It's one of those things, we all take it for granted that we do certain things and it will improve the health and welfare of our animals, but it's always nice to have what we intuitively believe to be confirmed by hard numbers.